Joining me live from Jerusalem is Oren Marmorstein, an Israeli Foreign Ministry spokesperson. Mr. Marmorstein, thank you for joining us on Sky News. What is the latest you can tell us about the extent of the Iranian attacks on Israel in response?
Samantha, it's good to be with you. First, perhaps we should say a word. Why are we at this moment? We're trying to remove an existential threat. Actually, a double existential threat. The Iranian regime, the Mullah regime, has been getting closer and closer to be in a point in which they have a nuclear weapon, and also, and this is the second existential threat, to be in a point in which they have industrial scale of ballistic missiles. So in a way, we were at the 11th hour. And this is what we're trying to do, to remove this existential threat.
Yes, we heard that from Mr. Netanyahu. My question really was about, you've had people spending the night in bomb shelters. As we're speaking now, what is the current status in terms of the intensity of the attacks from Iran on Israel?
So you mentioned the bomb shelters. Me and my family, my wife and daughters, we spent the night in the shelter. Actually, we had people that were murdered, that were killed because of the attacks in a city called Rishon LeZion. Originally, I'm from there, and terrible pictures. People trying to take cover, and I think what makes the difference in this terrible attack is that the Iranian regime is targeting population centers. We are doing everything possible, and I think your correspondent just mentioned it, to avoid harming civilians. The Iranians are going after civilians.
How are you explaining to Israelis why they're needing to spend the night in bomb shelters, why mothers are trying to comfort their children when the walls of their apartments are shaking? How are you explaining it to them, and how long are you telling them to prepare for it to continue?
Perhaps the best way to explain how we're explaining, I'll share with you how I explained it to my 9-year-old daughter when we rushed her into the shelter. I told her that in a very foul place called Iran, there is a very extreme regime, the Mullah regime, and they are doing everything possible to get their hands around the most dangerous weapon humankind ever known, nuclear weapon. And that's why we are undergoing these difficulties, but it's in order for us to be safe. And actually, it's not only for us, Israel, to be safe. The idea is to make this place, the world, a safer place, because those missiles, those ballistic missiles, can get all the way to Europe, to the UK. And this is a threat, and this is a danger that, of course, Israel is in the forefront, is in the front of this war and in this operation. But in a way, we're doing the job for all of us to be safer.
Yes, I mean, we heard an update from your military yesterday. It seemed to be a long-term planned attack. How much damage can you assess that you've already done to the nuclear capability of Iran with what has happened so far?
So the first round of activity of the operation was very successful. Nuclear sites were severely damaged, and all the weapon scientists, all the generals were involved in trying to get Iran to this point of no return, were also severely damaged. So I think we can look at a very successful point of operation.
Okay, so Ms. Marmorstein, if it was successful, can it now stop? Or is what Israel's looking for is regime change in Iran?
That was my next sentence. It's not done. We have still work to do, because the scale, just to give you an idea, the Iranian regime was trying to get itself with a capability of producing 300 missiles, ballistic missiles, a month. This is something that for a tiny country like Israel could be catastrophic. So there's much work to be done, but the first round, the first stage of the operation was very successful.
But are you trying to foment regime change within Iran? Because you haven't just gone after the nuclear capability, have you? You've gone after military personnel and military installments inside Iran.
So basically, we're going after those who are trying to kill us, those who pose a threat. And the goal, the objective of this operation is very clear: to remove this threat, to remove this existential threat. And I hear about other analyses, other ideas. This is the core idea, the core objective is to remove the threat.
Did you have no confidence in the US talks with Iran, the nuclear talks?
Of course, we have a lot of confidence, and the Americans are our closest ally, and we have a correspondence and communication with them on a daily basis and a very intimate relationship. And of course, the Americans were informed. And yes, I think what we're doing is helping all of us to be in a better, in a safer world after removing this nuclear threat coming from Iran.
Did the Americans support what you did?
So like I said, the Americans were informed. I think
It's different, though, from being informed to being supportive, isn't it?
And again, my next sentence would be, I think the Americans are quite able to communicate their message by themselves, and President Trump is doing it in a very clear way.
Your administration has warned Israelis abroad to avoid displaying Jewish or Israeli symbols. Have you a message for British Jews?
So I think you're right. Yeah. Unfortunately, in these circumstances, in these times, when Israel is involved in trying to protect itself, often it is the case that Israelis and Jews are being attacked. So unfortunately, with the rise of anti-Semitic hatred and attacks against Jews, I think, yes, it is very important to be cautious. I can also here, of course, relate to Israelis because I'm an Israeli official, but for Israelis, we're saying, yes, it is time to be cautious. It's time to be wise because, as you know, many are trying to attack us. Also in the UK, just recently, people try to attack the Israeli embassy. So yes, it's important to be very safe and cautious.
And what support are you expecting from the governments of the UK, the US, and indeed Europe?
I think those countries, those governments that you mentioned, acknowledge the threat. They know that the world with nuclear Iran is a very, very unsafe world. So I think here, the most important thing is that once you acknowledge the threat, you should acknowledge the right of Israel to defend itself. And this is what we're doing.
Iran has made no secret of the intensity with which it will retaliate. It's talking about Israel burning. Have you put special measures in place to protect your own military commanders and politicians?
So everyone is planned, and we're doing everything possible to make everyone safe, unlike other regimes and other entities that unfortunately we need to fight, in which they protect only the military actions. In Israel, we protect everyone, including families, civilians, and people who have official roles. So we are taking every measure to make sure everyone is safe.
All right, Mr. Oren Marmorstein, thank you very much for your time on Sky News.